So, all right, we're just welcoming in the first guests. I want to thank everyone for joining us today on this beautiful Thursday, wherever you may be. I'm in New York, despite the elephants behind me. So it's a brisk, sunny day out here in New York. So I hope everyone is doing well wherever you may be. I'd like to welcome you to one of our last webinars of the week, which I've been so excited to put together and to host. We're joined by Beks Ndlovu, owner of African Bush Camps, as well as three of my favorite guides, Dutch, Daniel, Dophas, and Quintino from three of African Bush Camps properties out in the bush. So hey guys, welcome.
Thank you very much, Wazha, for having us.
Of course, thank you all for joining. So, today we are discussing, in honor of Black History Month, we wanted to really honor you guys and African Bush Camps. For those who don't know, African Bush Camps, without me doing a big story, because I'm going to leave that to Beks, but African Bush Camps is one of the only, if not the only, Black-owned luxury safari company in Africa, or in the world, actually. So it's always been my pride to represent the company and the team. For anyone who has not heard my spiel before, I was actually sent out to African Bush Camps when Beks had first built Lenyanti Bush Camp many years ago, over 10 years ago. And I had always been interested to find out who this guy Beks was, who had been building these camps. I guess he's got a name that sounds similar to mine. And it turns out that we're tribal cousins. So I needed to find out who this guy was. So I spent at least about a year hounding Beks down to find him. And eventually we became friends. And when the opportunity arose to represent African Bush Camps, as Beks will tell you, I think I WhatsApped you and just pretty much hounded you down until you accepted the fact that I was going to become your rep. So since then,
it was a forced conversation. And you didn't really leave much of a choice. No. You're the kind of guy that when you have an idea, you go for it. That's what I want, and I'm going to get it. So I had to just succumb to the charming character that you are, Wazha, and thank you for doing that.
Absolutely, and it's been an amazing road since then, and with much more to go. So, with that said, I really wanted to take this time to honor the company and the team. I mean, I've been out with most of the team. I've done my safaris and hung out with all of you guys in all three countries, and just been able to get to know all of you individually. You're all amazing souls. So we wanted to jump in and just give you guys really the platform to shine today. So let's do that. We're going to start off with just chatting with Quintino, Dophas, and with Dutch. We're going to start off chatting with you guys as guides. And then, of course, Beks will jump in because you've always got something to add. Always got those gems of knowledge to drop in. And then, of course, we're going to move on to you. So let's just start in with some introductions. Beks, why don't we start off with you?
Thank you, Wazha. So I guess I've been walking this road, or rather on this journey, for the last 16 years. As it all started when I left high school, when I went off into the bush and started as a trainee guide. This was some 24 years ago. Trained as a guide, as one of those very impatient guys who was really sort of impatient to get out into the workforce and start my career as a guide. And one would maybe say that I dodged the continuance of school and formal studies and gave that up to a classroom that didn't exist within four walls and learn from nature. And I really must say that was my best learnings ever, being out in nature and meeting people from all walks of life and learning so much from the gift of nature. And of course, the last 16 years, being able to create teams and really create a lifetime journey with an amazing three of which I've really had the privilege of watching grow over the last number of years that they've been with African Bush Camps, and they've really much stood at the integral of helping me develop and grow this business. And 16 years later, about to open our 16th safari camp. It's been an absolute honor and privilege. And these three faces, including yourself, by the way, Wazha, as the fourth, are part of this tapestry of life, this beautiful journey that I've been so privileged to be a part of in growing this business, and about to open our 16th camp in 16 years. It's been an absolute privilege and an adventure, and long may it continue.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Dophas, my man, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell the people where you're at.
All right, so Dophas, I'm in Wange National Park at Somalisa Camp. That is where I'm based at as a dinner guide in Somalisa concession. I've been with the company for almost 11 years now. Of course, I started at the bottom, unlike Beks, who went straight for the gun. I started at the back of house, maintenance work, became a waiter, went on to hosting, and just that passion kept driving me on and on until I went and started studying for my guiding license, which I got. And I must say today I'm a proud guide.
Excellent, excellent. And Quintino, welcome.
Thank you. Hi, Quintino, based at Thorntree River Lodge in Zambia, right in the Musatonya National Park. It's been quite an exciting journey, starting the guiding fraternity. The first time.
Of course, that's when he freezes, right? Okay,
a guide. And then, I eventually started doing my training. And eventually, yes, I worked for different companies on the Zambian side. And I was very lucky to join the ABC in 2017, opening Thorntree River Lodge. So it's been quite an exciting. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you. And thank you for joining us. And Dutch, where are you?
Right, I'm here. Okay. My name is Dutch. Like my colleagues have just said, I lived the whole entire life in the wilderness, and until 2013, I met Beks somewhere when he was doing his shows in Kasane BTTE, and before that, I worked in the Delta for about 6 years, and then doing this private guiding. Then I was very fortunate enough to be involved into these shows, and that's when I went to BTT in Kasani, and I saw him with Sophie, and then I always looked at him. That guy, what is he doing here? And I was always talking to different people, and then for me, because I always wanted to be that kind of a man that I see over there, and then I felt like going around to go greet him, and then yes, for sure, he greeted me and he asked me, "Who are you?" And I told him, "My name is Dutch." And he said, "Okay, do I know you?" Yes, we chatted, and then from there, I wanted to know where is his company, and then luckily he had an office in Maun, and I walked in. I applied for a job, and then I was very lucky to work for this company, and then in the long run, they recognized that I can be one of the leaders, and then was very lucky to be the head guide for Botswana camps. And, my job is to take out the private guiding around the Delta. If we would go to our expedition camps in Ngaipen, I'll do that, and also to mentor the trainee guides during the off season.
Excellent, excellent. And thank you all for those fantastic introductions. Now, Dutch, I'm going to come back to you, mostly because you're from Botswana like me. So, I always give Botswana more credit, I think. Oh, no, you're muted, Beks.
You obviously have your favorites. We can see that coming through now.
Absolutely, but I still do have Somalisa behind me. So, that's always the case.
That's Dophas' home ground.
Exactly.
I just want to say, Wazha, you've asked just the most amazing crew of people with these three characters joining us on this show. Quintino is the head guide in Zambia with a fantastic, amazing team of people there. And of course, Dutch having given his background story, and Dophas being, the primary example of somebody that's joined the business with so much passion as a back of house guy, really started with us from the bottom as he slowly worked his way up out of curiosity of saying, from back of house, I want to get into the engine room. So he went into the kitchen. From the kitchen, he went to front of house. front of house as a waiter, went on to being a host, and he said, actually, you know what? I want to go out there and share those experiences and guide. And so all three of you guys have come, I mean, just miles. And in the work that you guys are doing in itself, it's inspiring to so many other people that come after you. It's inspiring for me to have seen the journeys that you guys have walked. So yeah, well selected, Wazha, and it's a great honor, and gives me good encouragement to also know that there are others behind you guys, and it's all our responsibility to make sure that we take everybody with us on this journey.
Absolutely. No, very well said, Beks. I don't know if I ever told you this story, but when I was in college, I was actually working at Chobe Game Lodge. And at one point, I actually thought I was going to become a guide. Until about 6 weeks, until you hit that 6-week point, and I realized that I'm a city boy and that I need to get back to the city. But I always thought, you know what, I'm gonna, finish school and I'm gonna become a guide. I'm gonna live in Chobe, and that's gonna be my life. And then I really needed cars and noise and sirens back. But I always commend you guys, and that's why I love coming out and spending time with you guys, because it's the life that I could have lived that I now get to live vicariously through you guys. So I always commend you.
Hey, look, you are still a guide, Wazha, just not in the bush, in the city. When I come to New York, I hold on to your coattails, and I'm totally reliant on you when we're around New York, when we've been around San Francisco, when we've been around Arizona. So yeah, you are a guide in your own ways, and I'm thankful.
Oh, blessed. So, Dutch, I want to start with you and ask about, how did you become a guide? What's your story? Like, what inspired you to start in this field?
All right, Wazha, I was born in the bush. The whole entire life I lived in the bush. So then I was very lucky that I was born and raised by two parents, my mother and my father. Though they lived in two different places, where I come from in the Delta. So then my mother stayed in an area where there was a very small school, and my father was right into the wilderness. It was like a very small tribe, whereby the government should not bring development there. But if you want to go to school, then we have to move to the bigger village. So then I was forced to walk from there to the village where my mother was staying. But I was not that attached to my mother, but my father, because I learned a lot of different things from him, like following the donkeys. If we're talking about that, we're talking about how did we learn this is going to be our donkeys. Then that's how we started. And then he had to introduce me to go to school. How do you go there? So in the morning when it's cold, in the afternoon when it's hot. So then at the same time, during that walk, we would see a lot of different animal species. Then you have to tell me that, okay, that's a kudu, that's an elephant, that's a hyena. So then how dangerous are those animals? So how would you walk around those animals using the air and trees? So now as I was growing up, then along with my cousins who knew how to trap the francolins, how to use the slingshot to find what we could eat. So all this experience by itself, it's what inspired me to try and get into this, to try and know how can I use this as my life. Because as a guy who was born into the bush, I've never been to the university, but if my life is here, then exactly this is what I can handle with my two hands and utilize it. And then when I finished my junior certificate, I said, no, you know what? I got back to the village, and then I started venturing into this tourism industry. And this is when tourism was growing up, and then we could use our community for business, like having the community trust. So then I was lucky to be part of the team. I do the voluntary job for 12.5 years. And after that, that's when I started collecting some information from my colleagues, and eventually I went to do a guides course, because I knew if I have this information, but I need to know how to deliver it. That's when I went to school to go and train as a guide.
Fantastic. Now, Dophas, you, of course, as you gave us a little background on before, have a different story. You came, as you said, from the bottom, coming from the F&B side, and now you're an established guide. What was your inspiration to, first off join from the F&B side and then, come up to where you are now?
Basically, coming from high school, I was raised by a single mom, and after I finished my high school, I was sitting at home by then, so I wasn't working. Then my brother used to work here at Somalisa as a guide, so there was a job at the maintenance. So he came and asked if I was interested in getting a job. So I was excited. I needed something to get me by. So that was the first thing that was on my mind. It was all about money. But then when I started working for the company, then I just started getting interested, seeing the waiters, seeing the chefs and the guides, and on how they really are, excited about going out on activities, their passion and everything. Just saw me starting, enjoying that ladder and going up. And so starting off at maintenance, I was the youngest. And this other day they said they needed a kitchen porter in the kitchen, and I was the youngest, so they did pick me up, and that was really exciting. So I went in, did washing of the dishes, but that didn't go well. So the time I got tired, it's a moment where you wash a dish, you put it on the drying rack before it dries up. The chefs have taken it and it's back again on the sink. So that was really pushing, and then I started going to the waiters, asking them to show me how to set up the table and all that. So because my passion was driven, I wanted to be at the front of house, as Beks mentioned. I wanted to just go in the engine room and see how all worked. So I started setting the tables, and the waiters had found their guinea pig, someone who they'll be using to do their duties. So whenever guests left, they'll say, "Dophas, would you like to set the table?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I would like to do it." So they'll go at the back of house and I'll do the laying of the table. But then working for a company like ABC, which is a really good company, which recognizes talent. So the managers saw how much passionate and how I was willing to go in upfront, leaving my duties back at the kitchen. So they set me down and asked me which direction I was heading to. So I told them I was happy going to the waiting team instead of the kitchen. So while I was there being a waiter, having our camp managers and our hosts welcoming guests and all that interaction, somehow just, I got this feeling in me to say, you know what, I want to be that next guy. I want to do that. So eventually, as I had mentioned earlier, to say ABC does recognize talent. So they gave me a chance to do the hosting, and I did it very well for about 2.5 years. So while I was doing that, I just felt, the urge to want to go out there in the field, go and show the guests, because welcoming the guests coming back from an activity, the smiles that they had on their faces, and how they'd been blown away with what they'd experienced on a safari, it just got me, thinking, I really want to be that guy who is going to take these guests out, show them out what our country has to offer, or what Africa has to offer. And from there, I started studying. So I did self-studying. And I went and sat for my exams, and I passed. So after passing, I then came back to the senior management, and told them that I passed and that I really wanted to be that guy who is going to go up front there, take guests out, show them what our national parks have to offer, and sell our company, which is our Somalisa camp, just to show what we had to offer. And from there, they did give me that chance. And ever since, I've been guiding, and every day, is just an excitement every day, going to work and just being in the bush here is one of those dreams come true.
Yeah, hey, I'm so jealous of you right now. I'm just thinking of you at Somalisa and what's going on in the behind, in the background with all the animals. I can't wait to come and see you guys. And I've personally been, I've seen you serving, I've seen you guiding and everything. So I'm always very proud to see your rise through the ranks at Somalisa and at ABC. So thank you for that. Now, Quintino, you are our lead guide at Thorntree and in Zambia. Tell us a little bit about how you came to join ABC and how you came to be a lead guide.
It's quite interesting. I'll start with my journey, to become as a guide. Like I said earlier on, I've lived in the cities, then coming to the village at Mukuni. The village is just close by to the Victoria Falls, this an uncle. And then that is actually the road heading to the Batoka Gorge. So to see the trucks loaded with, tourists, of course, white people. And then, then I'll be jealous to say, maybe one day, I would like to be one of, the guys, talk about, my culture, Zambian history and stuff like that. So I was very lucky, Sobek, we're recruiting canoe guides. So this dam putting on a necktie, long sleeved shirt, trouser, leather shoe, nicely polished, with a file, going to attend an interview, because I didn't actually know exactly what I would, what I will be or what exactly I'll be doing the gear. So I remember Robin, Brown was laughing, and, I'm like, wow, maybe I'm crazy, stuff like that. So yeah, I was lucky. It was actually a competitive interview. We were 7. I was lucky to be one of the number 7. So we had to camp upstream above Thorntree River Lodge. Paddling techniques. By the first time, it was quite scary, to go on the river, paddle next to hippos, crocodiles. But yeah, thank you, Robin Brown will be there to just push us guys. You have to work hard and respect the animals. Wildlife. Guiding, and it became quite exciting, to be, talking to tourists about, Zambian history, our culture, who's fauna and flora, and then moving up, being a safari guide, maybe working for the lodges. And then this time I'm joining Tongabezi. This is in Zambia, in Livingstone. And that's why I'm meeting Beks. Yeah, you come with his own groups. I would be admiring. I would like to be one of them, traveling different camps. Because it's nice to do something different, challenges. And yeah, then from Tongabezi, I was raised to be a head guide, activities manager, of course, meeting, guests coming into the properties, arranging activities. Well, because I like new challenges. I was very lucky when ABC were opening up, in Livingstone in the Musatunya Park. And yeah, the story was, everywhere that, Beks is coming into Livingstone. And I'm like, wow, this is exciting. Hopefully I'll be one of them to be pioneers of Thorntree River Lodge. And yeah, I was very lucky to join the part, to be, the ABC team. And to be honest, I think this is where we now, enjoying the guiding fraternity, because, we're coming up to Somalisa to be exposed in the real wilderness, to do the walking safaris, approaches that we don't back, although yeah, it's a different style of guiding. But of course, I'll talk about the white rhinos that we see around here. And yeah, it's been actually exciting.
That's great. So, this question is going to be for the guys, but it has to start with you, Beks. You've always really spoken about empowering your guides and giving them the opportunities, even after, if they leave ABC, to have opportunities after to really go out on themselves and have a lot of tools to be the best version of themselves in this business. So I wanted to ask, what has really been your biggest inspiration to make sure that, that the team has these amazing opportunities? For example, when you've done things like your guide training program, or just the stories of how you brought a lot of guides back to Zimbabwe after, during the economic crisis. What do you think has been your inspiration to give all this access and to these opportunities to the guides? And then my follow-up question to you guides would be, how do you feel all this has affected your job professionally and really put you at another level? So Beks, I'll start with you.
Yeah, thanks, Wazha. I mean, I guess inspiration really comes from looking at people that have walked these paths before you. And I think it goes to suffice that there was some stage where this business did not belong to Black people, neither did the guiding really. And but there was a time that things turned, and I think the world has become aware today that it's about appreciating different cultures and about really getting to the roots of where do people come from, how do they grow up, and being able to have a diversity of people being able to tell their story. There's been far too many times when people from Africa, from the soil, from the local communities haven't really had the platform to be able to tell their story. And, you know, these are stories that the world out there wants to hear, that the world wants to learn about. And so being able to do that over the last 24 years and being able to take others along, such as Dophas, Dutch and Quintino and many others, you know, we've got a whole stable of over 50 guides in African bush camps today, and being able to individually know and have those guys tell their story is the most fascinating thing, really, because you're talking about, you know, close to 1,000 years worth of guiding experience. Now that's a lot. It's a lot of stories. And so I guess my inspiration today comes from the fact that there are others that are able to tell the story. There are others that I'm able to identify with, others that are able to identify with me. When I was guiding, I can't say that I always had other mentors and people who I identified with culturally and also in the way in which I was raised or grew up. But the story today that I tell about my upbringing, the way I grew up, my first years of guiding, is the same story that Dutch has, that Quintino has, that Dophas has. And it makes us as equals. It brings us to a place where we can recognize and identify with each other as equals and are able to run through this course of life and journey together. And I think that's the fundamental difference for me in comparison to what I grew up. And that to me was something that always inspired me. And it was a point where when I was doing private guided safaris, I felt that the story of our people needed to be told a lot more. And the search was, how can I achieve that in being able to not only tell my story, but bring others with me that can also equally tell the story. And today we sit with over 50 guides. And in fact, you know, it's not just the guides that tell the story, but it's also people like Dophas who've been on the front end of either being a host or being a waiter and being able to tell their own story in their own way and be recognized and elevate through the ranks and get to a place in the business where they want to. And I think that's what I find very satisfying. That's what inspires me.
Perfect. I think that's so well said. Now, Dutch, I'll then move on to you. What about your time at ABC has really inspired you to, you know, with all that access and like Beks said, having a team of people that have similar stories and look like you and represent a culture like yours? What has been, you know, your inspiration to, you know, just be kind of your best self with ABC, and what has been, some of your inspirations while you've been with the team?
Wazha, you know, I was very lucky to work for this company because, you know, I was exposed into many different areas, different experiences with no life-threatening, and so then. So the kind of a position that I'm having right now, I'm leading all the guides in Botswana, and I'm having the company standard in my hands. I'm making sure that they are displaying what the company needs in relation with different cultures, different nations, so that at the end of the day, we give the exact service to that relevant person, to that particular person. And now, finding yourself in that capacity, I think it's really an achievement, and it really inspires a lot, because you know that I'm somewhere in the structure of the company. And for me, it's a growth. And I'm looking into two lives, the life of the company and my life as a whole. And I could see that how they are running the company. It involves a lot of different people to try and promote the tourism of Botswana, Zimbabwe, Zambia, and elsewhere. And the fact that we are running this business in different areas, again, for me, I think I've achieved a lot of things, because being in the area like Linyanti, Ngaipen, in the Delta, some of these areas, we call them the lost lands, because it has never been anything happening there. But now African Bush Camp is bringing it to to the people, then for me it's a challenge because I need to know a lot about that area so that I interpret what exactly is happening over there.
Yeah, absolutely. No, perfect for that. Now, and Coutinho, same question to you, but also I want to ask this other part because of course you're in Zambia and you're also by one of the communities that ABC works with. So, what is inspiring you to obviously, be your best self again at ABC and, working with the community as Thorntree does? How are you sharing this inspiration with, potentially the next generation of ABC team guides and staff?
Yeah, like we said earlier on, it has been very exciting working for ABC, as guides because of the exposure. Meeting, guides from Zimbabwe, Botswana. Then we actually learned a lot, especially the Zambian team, because we've never been to, big national park, the interaction into the wilderness journey. We've really learned a lot, and I'm sure it's not the end. And yeah, we've been exchanging notes, with guides from Zimbabwe, Botswana. And then the first time we are visiting some village, in Zimbabwe, where the guys will take the guests for, to a village tour. Then we're coming back to Zambian side at Maunga village. It's a 45 minutes drive. And on the way, we'll see exciting villages that we share with our guests, our culture, tradition. And also for the first time, this has been an exciting moment, interacting with the children at Maunga Primary School. It happened maybe 2-3 times. Then the COVID, pandemic, these things disturbs the whole program because we, opening up, some conservation club with the school kids because of a situation that has, been discovered in Maunga village that, the locals, the burning charcoal, that's really, really bad. And then the entry point we thought, be maybe talking to the kids about conservation, maybe to find the best way, otherwise we'll lose up all the trees in Maunga village. And also, it's also very exciting, to show our guests around about, life in the village. Also to, even the villagers, they've really appreciated, seeing, tourists, getting into the village, talking to them, real understanding about, the basics there. Yeah, so, and also I think something to do with the discipline, you see, as, into the guides, and also patience pays eventually. So yeah, I think those 2-3 things are something that has been exciting. Yeah, sure.
Now, Beks, I know you and I have been in even in a Far magazine about this discussion before, but you and I have both spoken about this quite passionately. In the safari game and in the Africa travel space, obviously the majority of companies are not Black owned, and you are one of the few. So, what I want to ask is obviously representation now matters, I think, more than ever. And a lot of companies are now looking to companies like African Bush Camps and other, great Black owned companies to see how they can, do better, but also how, how we can influence a next generation of travelers and travel professionals. So with that said, what do you think ABC, and I get, as a culture and as you as a person, what do you think you guys have been doing, even as a team, have been doing to not only promote the fact that, Black luxury travel companies do exist, but also that, representation is key, not just to the consumer, but also to the actual individuals. Like, for example, in the villages and these different areas, to see Black staff, Black guides, Black owned companies supporting them.
Yeah, Wazha, I think it's become evident that we all don't do enough in this space to make sure that people are adequately represented. And I think it goes about making sure that people feel very comfortable in the space. making sure people like Quintino, Dutch, Dophas are very comfortable in the space in which they exist, and that they feel very much as equals in the participation of the tourism industry. And that's, I guess, for us as a business, is at the forefront of what we do. And we don't always get it right, but certainly we are mindful, and it's at the forefront of our thinking. It's the forefront of our passion. And it goes about also going far much deeper, going into the communities, and not just having people that are employed within the company tell their story, but people within the communities also to participate and tell their story. Now, there's various places that or messaging, I think, which also needs to change within our industry. That's participation in our offices, participation in the imagery that we use to promote our camps, the education and the time that we take to be able to talk to locals from our own individual countries, so that we somehow inspire and spark a certain interest for them in their heritage, in our heritage. Because certainly in the past, there's been very little participation from the Black community, but we're seeing that more and more, both in Botswana and Zimbabwe. We haven't seen much of that in Zambia yet, but it's something that we would really like to work on. And the one thing that we always highlight and talk about is that you cannot be passionate or protect what you don't know, what you don't love. And I think if we're going to be successful at making sure that we preserve our heritage, that we get our communities to really participate in this journey of conservation, we need to get their buy-in in terms of them being passionate and really loving the wildlife and understanding what it actually means. So that's really, I think, what's become an absolute paramount importance for us as a business and I guess in a sense, COVID has given us that opportunity to be able to say, look, what did things look like before, pre-COVID? What do we want things to look like post-COVID? What are the changes that we can bring about to our industry to make sure that we are all inclusive and we have the diversity that it takes to be successful in all things?
No, absolutely. That is so right on the point. And now to Dutch and to Quintino, a big part of what I really love about when I come to the camps is getting time to just spend with you guys and just chat and see how life is going. And I always love to actually watch the guests who want to know your stories, know what tribe you're from. They love to see the dances and everything else. And just sharing, showing how we share our culture with non-Africans. So to that, what have you been doing, I guess, differently, both as lead guides and obviously being in the bush? Even for us, it's not just about being on safari, it's about sharing our culture, our history, our people. So what have you been doing at either of your camps to really show your culture and history and your story to Westerners who have never, met anyone like you guys before or been to Africa before? And I'll go to Dutch first.
Right. So what we try and do, especially in areas where I move around, that is in Kwai and in the Linyanti, and if I'm in those camps, I'm in Mount. So then I try and make sure that I talk a lot, because this company is based in areas where they support the locals. So then I try and share that culture of that certain tribe with the guest. And if we don't have the guest, I try and bring everyone together in the camp, try and make sure that they really understand the lifestyle of that tribe. And then because we are lucky that you are in Kwai, where our properties are very close to that that village, then we make sure that we go around and check this project which are done by the African Bush Camps Foundation, and at the same time try and see if the involvement of the communities is there, and at the same time I try and share with them what I think these are initiatives that you can bring in order to try and promote, I mean, to develop exactly what we are doing right now, and also to even to involve everyone, not only the guys, the managers and the other stuff about all this, what ABC has set to as our goals. That each camp has got each and every goal that we want to achieve, and we make sure that at least at the end of the season, we have achieved all these goals. And well.
Mm-hmm. No, perfect. And Quintino, what would you say are to the same?
Yeah, like what we do on this end, you see, like in Zambia, we have 73 dialects with 7 major languages, and all are practicing, different traditional ceremonies. So when we are with the guests, we try and, share, depending on which area you are focusing on. But now being in at Fontry in the Musotunya National Park, we have the Tonga speaking people. They pray for the rains. We call the Luindi ceremony. So we take our guests into that interesting traditional ceremony. And then also taking our guests to Maunga village. We're explaining a lot about, the migration of the Bantu speaking people, that it is in our DNA, because guests would actually ask why these people, they are far away from Livingston town, finding themselves into, the remotest, or let's say in the forest. And yes, we talk about, these people, they found themselves, in the bush to find, enough, space to graze their animals like cattle, goats, and also to have enough space to do agriculture. Maybe you remember about, our ancestors, that these were gatherers, hunters. And of course, this is, the DNA we're talking about. That is there into us, the locals. Yes, then they come to understand and appreciate why we drive in a 45 minutes, finding women, carrying their two babies on the back, within a basket on their head, or fetching water from the Zambezi River, walking on foot. And then, yes, eventually when the ABC Foundation is coming in Maunga, they're helping build up the hospital. Imagine Zambia's getting independence in 1964. They've never had a hospital. So this has been actually an exciting, thing for the villagers. And yeah, it's been actually a very, very, very big difference made to the villagers there. So during maybe before dinner time, by the fireplace, so we call the Bush TV. Yes, guys, we talk about, that experience in the village with our guests. Like me, I'm Lozi from the western part of Zambia. I'm proud to talk about our chief Lewanika, talk about, because they live in the Zambezi floodplains. You see, on the western part of Zambia, the Zambezi River is passing through my home village. So in the summertime, so when the Zambezi River is flooding, so every year in April, depending on how much rains, or the floods, so the chief will move in a big a boat painted black and white with about 100 paddlers, 50 on each side. So they'll paddle from the floodplains to the dry land. So that has actually attracted some local tourists and international tourists. So this has been actually happening every year. And yeah, so that's been actually my pride from my tribe of people from the western part of Zambia. Yeah.
That's fantastic. And myself being a Kalanga, I've always been so proud of my tribe and always trying to tell, our story here in the States. I think there's only a few of us here in America. So it's our responsibility. And most of them are my family members. Dophas, you're back. Before we get into some serious questions, I had a specific question for you because you are the youngest of the team here. And of course, being the youngest, you have a lot of responsibilities on you to now also teach the next generation of ABC staff that are going to come through the doors at Somalisa. So what do you think is the most valuable lessons you've learned at coming through the different stages of your job, and what do you want to make sure that the next staff members who come to ABC and to Somalisa learn from you?
Thank you, Wazha. Sorry, it was the push signal here. I'd gone out. So I would basically say, coming through working for ABC, I mean, we're a company that accommodates people from different places, different corners of the world. And one thing that I've always told myself is if you get a visitor coming to your home, they should feel at home. They should not get to a place where they arrive and think of going back where they came from. The idea is for someone to come to your place and it becomes hard for them to leave the place going back home. So that is what I've always told myself on. So I would say to the next generation coming out there, I think the foremost thing is to be passionate about what you're doing. I think that complements it all. You just have to be passionate about what you're doing. Don't do it for the money. Of course, you need the money at the end of the day, but you need to be passionate about what you're doing. Once you become passionate, you become very good at what you're doing. And working for a company as ABC, if you share a passion, could it be cooking, could it be waitering, could it be hosting? They're very they really recognize talent. So just be passionate and be humble.
Fantastic. And be humble, especially be humble. Now Beks, we're going to shift over to you. And for everyone who's still on, thank you for being on. We've got about 10 minutes left. So please put in any questions you have into the Q&A. But Beks, now going back to you, when we look at some of the other up and coming Black-owned companies in Southern and Eastern Africa, there's definitely a rise, but you of course are kind of our leader in many cases. What advice would you give to other, up and coming Black-owned, not even just safari companies, tour companies, hotels, who are going on this similar path as you, and want to, and see you as kind of a benchmark, so to speak, not to give you too much of a big head. Oh, you're on mute.
Thank you very much, Wazha. And look, there's something that Dophas said that he touched on, which towards the very end there, which I think is key, is you have to stay humble. And there's a lot of things that I've experienced, that I've been exposed to, that I never dreamt of growing up as a kid. But there was always a hunger, I guess, to excel and to be at the forefront of the leadership of an industry that I became very passionate about. And I think that wanting to be at the forefront meant being open to learning. And one thing for me, certainly, that I think worked very well for me is that I decided to choose mentors and people ahead of me to learn from and to be able to converse and have those deep discussions and be vulnerable to. A favorite saying of mine is that, if school fees has been paid already on your behalf by others, why pay school fees again? So there's, no matter what situation you go through, there's somebody out there who would have probably experienced either the same challenge or the same victory. In both instances, there's always something to learn. So what I would say to people that aspire to have their own businesses or aspire to be at the forefront of the leadership as guides, as a host, as camp manager, whatever it is, it's really, learn from others that have come before you. There's some amazing characters and people that have been on these journeys before, and there's so much to learn from them. And we need to embrace that and learn from them. And in that, we also have a responsibility when we get to a certain point where we need to impart that experience, that knowledge, and inspire others to come after us. And it's through that one receives personal growth, that one receives or gets professional growth. And so, those are the things that we talk about amongst the team at ABC, to say that not only are we trying to elevate ourselves, but it's actually within our interest that we elevate others that come before us that also aspire to do what we do. But humility comes definitely at the forefront of that.
Excellent. Now I've got one last question before we move on to Q&A, and this one actually wants to touch on people of color in travel, especially particularly in Africa. As most of us know, we're still seeing not great numbers of people of color coming, especially out into the bush. And so I want to ask each of you this question. What would you say, just very quickly, to any people of color who are interested in coming to Africa, coming to the bush, coming out with you on safari and experiencing the culture and the history and the wildlife? To some people that might be hesitant to come out for whatever reasons, what would you tell them very quickly as the reason for why they need to come out and experience Africa in this way? Dophas, I'll start with you.
I thought you were going to start with Dutch.
Fine, we'll start with Dutch. We'll go Dutch first.
Okay. Right. Thanks very much, Dophas. Right. I would like to tell everyone that do not ever take it serious when someone is saying that the wilderness areas is wildlife is very dangerous. It is not dangerous. What matters is how we treat it. So when we talk about each and every animal species, when whatever happened, if there was an accident, I would always blame someone because we found them in the bush. What we need to know is to have an experience on how to operate around those animals. So then I would like to welcome everyone to Africa. There are a lot of knowledgeable, experienced guides on the ground who are here to come and handle, guide you into the wilderness with great service. So we have this knowledge from the early stage, and of course, some other people, they might have experienced a lot of different situations, but together we can meet up your expectations. Please do not hesitate to come. We're here for you. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you, Dutch. Now, Dophas, it's your turn now.
I'm not touching this one. All right. So I'll basically say to the people that want to come through, I would say the people, they should come through here at African Bush Camps. We treat everyone fairly, regardless of color. We give you the same authentic experience, which you will really enjoy. And it would be nice for them to come through. We show them what we have in our national parks, share a little bit of our history. Who knows, we might be related in a certain way.
Perfect. Quintino?
Yes, those that are interested to come through to Thorntree River Lodge, they are most welcome. The guides are professional. We're excited to show our guests around, in the Musutunya Park. You find the white rhinos, and it's only in the Musutunya Park in Zambia where you find the white rhinos. Go to the Victoria Falls to explore, to talk about the geology, and also enjoy, the sunset on the mighty Zambezi River. Yes, why not spend, 2-3 nights at Thorntree River Lodge?
Perfect. And Beks?
Well, I tell you what, Quintino, I'm looking forward to coming back on the Zambezi River at Thorntree. So I'm definitely raising up my hand to be one of those that's going to visit both Wazha and I. It's great. Look, I think for me, and it's been very apparent in the past experiences and exchanges that I've had with other previous guests that have visited our part of the world. What I'd say is that, it's not a question of people coming to our part of the world and us imparting our knowledge and imparting our part of the world, but really it's a journey of an exchange between two or more people. So there's always something that I seem to be able to get as an exchange back from my visitors, my guests that come on safari with me. And I'm always intrigued with what I'm going to learn, what I'm going to experience together with them. And quite often through my own experiences, I've seen thousands of lions and rhino and various special wildlife. But, when we then have that shared experience with somebody that's seeing them for the first time, it almost, even for me, feels like I'm seeing those animals for the first time. And that's a very special gift and a reminder of the heritage that we have. So it's that exchange that is of mutual benefit to the traveler, to ourselves as locals, which is the journey of life that we should all embrace. And I look forward to being able to have these continued experiences and making new friends and from all parts of the world.
It couldn't have been better said. Thank you for that, Beks. Well, if we have any questions, please do put them in the Q&A. I see we have one question, and yes, this is being recorded, so we will be sharing this out with everybody. And before I let you all go, I'm just going to say, first off, thank you so much for all the time you've given us, for sharing your stories. And for me personally speaking, you know, being able to see you all in person is something I'm really looking forward to. It's been, I think, 2 years since I've seen any of you, which is quite sad. But Dutch, I'm coming your way in a few weeks, so prepare. But you know, again, you know, as African Bush Camps is a company that really, you know, in more than one way shines a light on, you know, in my opinion, what the safari industry should be like, but also is shining a light on what, you know, on not only raising the bar for Black-owned companies in this industry, but also just in general, showing a beautiful cultural heritage and stories in the safari game of Africa, regardless of color. So I just want to thank you all for your time and sharing, you know, Black History Month with us. I know you guys don't have it on your side, but we have it here. So, so I appreciate you all, my brothers. Thank you for spending the time. And with that, well, oh, I think I've got one last question before we go. Is there? Oh, this is a very good question. And Beks, I think this one was for you. But is there any foresight into more female guiding experiences as well?
So that is a fantastic question. Thank you very much. I see it comes from an anonymous attendee. I'd love to know who that person is. But certainly stay tuned and please get in touch with us either through our website or our social media platforms. But one of the things that we really believe is going to add value to what we do for experiences is to try and promote female guiding experiences through developing more female guides and trying to get more people interested in guiding. And we are looking at the moment at developing a program in Botswana that adopts 2 to 4 people a year and takes them through formal training and get sponsorship for them to go through the journey, because a lot of it, there's a cost expense. But having the camps that we have, we can obviously also offer those females the exposure and the experiences through mentorship programs through our guides, such as Dutch. And we're looking that over the next 5 years to be able to have the opportunity to hopefully launch more than 12 female guides into our system through these mentorship programs. And we hope that we can get support from people that want to see and have a different experience. And we believe that female guides would add a whole new different level to guiding. It goes without saying, not being prejudiced to us, that females are a lot more attentive, they're probably a lot more detail orientated, and probably a lot more generous in their giving, and would make phenomenal guides over and above any of us that we would ever imagine. So there's definitely discussions, and we're looking forward to being able to roll out this program, and hopefully we can get everybody's support on it.
That's amazing. I must say, when I worked at Chobe Game Lodge, I had the pleasure of working, before they were the Chobe Angels, working with some of the amazing guides there. And there are 2 that I still speak to this day, because they were 2, to this day, the most amazing guides that I've ever worked with. I mean, they could look at a bird and tell you what page it was in the bird book, which I still don't understand how she did it. But absolutely amazing experiences. So yes, we definitely look forward to that. Oh, and then one last question we have from Ms. Sonia is about walking safaris. Are there any specific focus areas or specifics that should be requested for any clients who are doing walking safaris?
I would say there aren't really any specifics per se, but I think it's very important. A lot of people arrive in our part of the world and they don't know or even believe that walking safaris is an activity that can be offered. And it's very important when people come out there that they come with that expectation that this is an offering that is, I mean, it's beyond words. What you can experience being in a vehicle within the confines of this protected unit is a completely different experience to being on foot on safari. And so when people come out to this part of the world, it's very important that they understand that all our camps can offer these walking safaris. And we've got qualified guides in each of our camps that can take people out. They're armed with a rifle, trained over many years, so I've got years of experience of being able to go so far as to even track lions on foot. which is one of the most exhilarating experiences anyone can have. Quintino would be able to take you on rhino tracking experiences. So these things are, yeah, they really are possible in our part of the world, and we operate mostly in private concessions that allow us the ability to be able to walk. So we look forward to being able to impart and share those experiences on foot.
I've got actually one last question that was, thank you, Sonia, for asking that, because this one will lead me to mine. And again, guys, this will be my last question to you, I promise. What is your favorite place and activity for safari? And Quintino, I'll start with you.
Wow.
I know it's a hard one.
Quintino, by the way, is biased. He's going to talk about Thorntree, so be prepared for him to say that.
No, okay. Honestly speaking, I think wow, I enjoy just going out on all activities, but taking my guests on the Zambezi River has been an exciting moment just to enjoy that tranquility. You know, just viewing, you know, bird life, you know, fauna and flora, and just enjoying the sunset of the Zambezi for my guests. They've really enjoyed it and also love that. I think, yeah, being on the Zambezi River.
Great.
Yeah.
And Dutch?
So, I would say personally, I like a walk, either a nature walk or a game walk. And then now with guests, I did not yet picked any. It goes with what they want. So, but if you throw the ball in my hands, I'll definitely go for a walk.
And where? Which is your favorite park?
Linyanti.
Ah, of course, of course. And Dophas?
I don't know whether this counts as 1 or 2 points, but basically I like taking guests out on activity, just seeing animal interact, and later on in the evening, just sitting around the fire warmer, sharing a couple of stories, could it be our animals, the culture, or just solving the world's problem around the fire. I think that's basically more of my interest.
Very well put. Now, Beks, your question is a little bit different. What is your favorite activity? But second, which is your favorite camp?
So you did promise to ask one last question, and I'm thinking instead of two here all in one. So that's a bit sneaky. But a place for me that's always held and I suppose given so much life to so much, whether it's wildlife or to human beings, is the Zambezi River. And it doesn't matter which part of the Zambezi River. I'm always very excited to spend time along the Zambezi River, whether I'm walking along the river or canoeing it or boating or fishing. There's just, that river is a legendary, iconic river of the world, actually, that provides so much activities and so much life forms around it. So that's really an area that I like to hang out. And then as far as my favorite of camps, man, that's such a difficult call, because every time I'm visiting Thorntree, I sit around there and I say, there's no place like this. This has got to be the best place. Until I go to Somalisa and I sit there with Dophas and we've got a panel of, 100 of elephants around us, around a pool. And I look at Dophas and I say, actually, I don't think there's anything like this. And then I'm with Dutch at Linyanti or Kwai, and I find myself saying the same thing. So I really can't pin down or pinpoint a specific area. So I've got to say that, that's the beauty of what we do, is that we've got all these different places that really are deserving of a whole journey. And that's why when people come out to see us, they don't come and see one place. They don't come and see Thorntree or just come and see Linyanti or Somalisa. They come and we try to put together a whole journey. And in fact, the way we've developed the business is in such a way that it's a whole journey of these rich experiences that are so diverse and so different that one needs to come out and experience them. So I hope, Wazha, you can help us in your source market, convince as many people as possible to come out and experience all these diverse and beautiful places over and over.
Absolutely. That there is literally not a harder job for me. And this is actually why I used this photo of me at Somalisa to prove what my life was like pre-COVID. But you do know that photograph, it looks like you've
copied and pasted your picture sitting and having a glass of wine somewhere in Manhattan in New York, and you copied it and pasted it onto the Somalese experience in Africa.
All original, real news right there. That took me quite a few shots to take with the right angling with the elephants, by the way.
It's a great shot.
But with that said, I want to just thank you all so much again for spending the time with us today, for celebrating Black History Month with us, for everyone that came and joined and asked us amazing questions. Of course, this will be this webinar is being recorded, so we're going to have this on our website probably by the end of the day. And of course, if you have any questions or anything for the ABC team, please be sure to reach out to myself, and I'll be sure to get you in touch with Dophas, Dutch, Quintino, and Beks. And with that, thank you all. Guys, thank you again so much for a great day.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Wazha. Good to see all of you guys.
And I'll see you soon in the bush.
Thank you.
Take care.
Cheers.